So if you're trying to make sense of AI for your business, you're in the right place. Welcome back to our latest edition of Unlocking AI Value. And today's topic is strategy over execution. So sounds like it, makes common sense, strategy over execution, but what do we mean by that, Jay?
Well, based on my experience over the last 4 years, so when Gen AI came to the public in November of 22, and some of it was in 21, and some companies been experimenting with AI for a while with Watson and everything. But once that came out, it was like everybody jumped on the bandwagon and they just started executing. They just started building solutions. So the company I was with before, that's what we did. We developed some use cases and determined what we could start and learn from. And it was a lot of experimentation and learning, right? Because it's new,
Mm-hmm.
right? But now it's not so new, right? So now I would suggest that it's better to sit back and do an enterprise-wide strategy. Now you don't have to spend months doing this, or it doesn't have to be down to the finest granular level, but it has to be sufficient to where you understand all the stuff you've got to do for this transformation. Change management, the architecture, the digital core, your cost and investment strategy, all of this stuff in your use cases. What are the major use cases you're going to do if you're going to redesign some of your workflows and so forth, or organizational change, right? To lay that out, and it's going to change, but at least you did some due diligence at the beginning and came up with a strategy and aligned the teams to go then execute and build and measure the value that you're producing, and then make changes and pivot if necessary, right? So I would argue we're at the stage of this AI journey in the world where it behooves companies to sit back and really think strategically and intentionally of how they're going to implement AI, especially as the cost of running AI will increase
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to start hooking or creating agents inside your workflows to automate them.
Yeah.
That token cost is going to increase.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that, like you said, people have been, just going out there doing a lot of stuff and learning a lot from that.
Mhm.
But then as the costs start to go up and we also start to just go beyond the ad hoc stage and the hey, what's this kind of stage? Now we're starting to see that, hey, this can actually be really productive for me, or start to, change the way we do business. Now it's really being strategic about it. Now, what I've started to see in a couple of cases too is that you have maybe two different departments or even people in the same department start doing solving the same problem, but in maybe
Mhm.
different ways or in
Mhm.
redundant ways where you're going to be paying, the cost twice for doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And so because we don't have that strategy or way to manage it and sort of govern, not just the boundaries and the security aspects, but to govern literally like, hey, are we solving the same problem three different ways and paying for it three times? We should have an inventory somehow of
Yes.
agents or different aspects of what we're doing or problems that we're solving, so we don't, end up paying multiple times for the same thing. So pretty important
Right.
that we start paying attention to that kind of stuff more strategically, to your point.
Right. So part of governance, and that's part of your strategy, right? Is 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 how are you going to manage this, right? And identify what already exists, right? So we many companies have done a really good job with service management, ITIL and CMDB and so forth, and storing all their systems and all their systems of record and their tech and app and everything, and who owns what and what it does, right? I think AI is the same. So if I build agents or agent systems or Gen AI solutions, that's a product, that's a system. That has to be in your CMDB, and you have to have some registration process and some review process. People come up with ideas. That's great. Then you need to have, oh, have we done that already? Oh, there's
Yeah.
something out there that's kind of doing that. Why don't you go leverage that, right? But then if you have to look at 100,000 different systems and things that are going on concurrently, that's challenging.
Yeah. You hear people talking about treat the agents kind of like an employee, right? Same kind of thing. Like you're going to register all your employees, like you got to have records for who they are and what they're doing and where they are, all that kind of stuff. And same kind of thing for agents. It sounds like
Yeah.
you need to have some kind of record keeping of, where are these agents? What are they doing for me? So I know and don't have, again, multiple agents doing the same thing, just like you wouldn't want, five
Right,
different employees doing one job, right? You
right,
want the agents to be sort of kept track of and understood. They don't need performance reviews, maybe. Well, maybe they do. I don't
right.
know.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool. A lot of people recognize. So there's, a lot of companies, startups out there and non-startups that have developed now software to help you do that.
Mhm,
You can see it, manage it. Not only can you do the registration and make decisions, but you can monitor and track the usage and so forth, right?
mhm,
And so that's good because, that means you're ready to really operationalize this. That's one thing too, is that when we look at all of this, there is a significant service management sphere to this, right? And there's a significant decisions you have to make depending on what you're doing is how much of the human in the loop or human on the loop that you need and where do they have to evaluate? And you're going to do self-evals inside agents and models, but sometimes you need some of that approval process and a human involvement, right? That is very, very important because now you're going to be monitoring agents and systems of agents,
mhm.
right? And you're going to have connection points and then the monitoring and observation points as well as approval and evaluation points, right? So all of those things are very important. Well, I thought it was funny, just I was reading the news. I try to keep myself informed, but I don't know if everyone heard this. So Ford Motor Company, I like Fords, they had to hire back many of their people
Yeah,
because their agents couldn't do their automation they did. The AI couldn't do the work as at all or as well. And so they had to hire those people back. So I
interesting.
think companies have to be careful on the hype.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And that does come back again to that strategy over execution. Just start to automate and execute at that tactical level, and then making big decisions based on some assumptions there, but neglecting the overall strategy about how do we start shifting workforce
Right.
and when and things like that, so we don't have drop balls or catastrophes like that where we let a bunch of people go. They maybe don't have the best experience, and then we try to hire them back. Like how does that going to go, right? So
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I also find it interesting. I don't know if other people have noticed this, but most of the conferences, AI conferences and communities and other things that I see and I've been a part of is very technical at the technical level. It's like, how do I do this? How do I do, here's a product or a service that can do this, and I'm going to build this. We're a community and a world of builders now. We're going to build everything, every role can do stuff. I'm going, yeah, that's great, but wait a minute, what's the strategy?
Yeah.
How's all this going to hook together? What value is it going to provide the company and the customers, right?
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more discussion and conversation on that, not the tech.
It's a good point, Jay. We should probably submit to some conferences that are more techie conferences and bring that strategy perspective. Oh,
Mhm.
by the way, everyone, we're going to do exactly that. Like we have a couple AI conferences we've spotted that they're very technical and sound really cool from that perspective, but we wanted to offer some suggestions. So we're putting in a few talks at different conferences, especially around the Midwest, where we can offer that perspective about all the stuff, the actual execution, and where the rubber meets the road is important, but let's not lose sight of where we're actually trying to go, right? And so let's talk about strategy and what that looks like, especially when you're dealing with enterprise, right? It's different
Right,
if you're just a person out there fumbling around with ChatGPT for fun.
right,
When you're an enterprise, then there are like millions and billions of dollars at stake. It's a whole different ballgame. So really thinking about strategy is important there. So Jay and I are submitting some talks for a couple of conferences to share some perspective there.
right. And this is where I really think that our technology executives and experts, this is the opportunity to be at the table
Mhm.
with the C-suite and the business people to help draft and build the strategy and execute it, right? Because they're going to look to us, the technology experts, to help them figure out how to apply this at the most economical, feasible, and reasonable way.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a big one. There's been so much pressure for efficiency for the last, 20, 30, maybe 40 years, especially in IT. And then, we come around with what's going on with AI and everyone's just sort of Wild West, do whatever you want, but
Right.
the costs are coming to become real here pretty soon. And so that really then comes back to that mantra of, are we doing things the most efficient and effective way? So just automating everything may not be the immediate solution that makes most sense financially. So it's something to pay attention to there. Think about that strategy first before we go hog wild and put ourselves into a position where we're paying unexpected fees for things that we shouldn't. So that's
Right.
pretty important.
Which is another thing I just read too, is a significant number of large companies have already blown their IT budgets. May and June, they're blow the budgets already on tokens.
Yeah, for the rest of the year, like they've got
Yeah.
still 6 months left in the year, and they're already
Yeah.
through the budget that they had planned. So yeah, that's pretty impactful and something to keep their eye on. Obviously, a bit more going forward. So well, with that, good discussion here on strategy over execution. So that's our episode for today. But next one is going to be operationalizing AI. So getting towards that execution part, but with a strategy, of course. And so we'll talk more about that in the next episode. So with that, we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye. Hi. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And drop a comment with topics or questions you'd like us to cover. Thank you. See you later.